Everybody has a story to tell, and everybody is so sure that their story is so special that the whole world is going to line up to hear it. I have no illusions regarding this matter, nor do I have any pretensions. And yet, I have a story to tell. A story about a young kid growing up in New York, who at the age of 12, in 7th grade, was called to the secretary's office in the middle of class, and then disappeared, never to be seen again by his classmates, friends, or family. Only in much later years would that young kid start using the word kidnapped. A kid who grew up with 2 middle names, fear and shame. His fear of being punished was so great that when in the 4th grade he lost his eyeglasses, he stole his friend's glasses, which were the same frame, but with a different prescription, just so he wouldn't have to come home and tell his parents and then maybe get a beating. A shame so great that for most of his life he wore a mask, so people wouldn't be able to see how different he felt, growing up with all his inner worlds in a collision, fitting in everywhere, yet feeling at home nowhere. He entered the military at the age of 18, serving in a frontline combat unit, telling nobody for almost a year that he was suffering from a hernia, which was causing him excruciating pain. But he knew that if anybody found out, he would be operated on and then made to sit behind a desk for the rest of his service. You don't go into the military to sit behind a desk. And besides, pain was something that he knew a lot about. As a staff sergeant training new recruits, he was hard on his soldiers with his methods many times out of the ordinary. But he got results, often going to extreme lengths to get those results. So much so that when a soldier in the field went berserk one night and threatened the officers and all the staff, and then threatened to kill himself, he gave that same soldier his rifle and a clip and dared him to do it. The soldier then loaded the rifle, put the muzzle in his mouth, and pulled the trigger. He was then hauled up on a general court-martial in front of the commanding general of the Armored Corps Academy. After being honorably discharged from 3 years in the military, he went to work, and he worked hard, holding all sorts of jobs, the most lucrative of them being a professional smuggler, smuggling gold and diamonds around the world. He became an entrepreneur at the age of 27, not having much to his name. And by the age of 36, he was already a self-made millionaire. He lived a life that many would only dream about, with a great company doing 8 figures a year, a beautiful house in the best residential area, beautiful cars in the driveway. He and his wife, known as one of the power couples in the social world and in the fashion business. No mortgage, no bank loans, more money than he could spend. And he spent. And yet, those inner worlds were still in a collision, and he lived a life in which he was out of alignment with his true self. Truth to be told, he lived a double life, and he walked on the wild side. All the rest, I'll leave to your imagination. And then one morning, about 25 years ago, in that beautiful home with all the beautiful cars in the driveway, in the best residential area, he woke up in his bedroom and literally couldn't move. He was frozen, hovering in and out of reality. He saw himself in a deep well, a well so deep that there was no way that he could get out of there. And he understood at that moment that his life was over. And for the first time in his life, he felt terror, real terror. That experience, terrifying as it was, paved the way to him finding his master, and he set out on a journey. A spiritual journey to find out what the hell is going on here, and how is it that a guy who supposedly has everything in life is still not happy, not satisfied, and not fulfilled? How can that be? A journey deep into suffering, into pain and shame. Not an easy journey, but a journey that in the end he found himself. There were many warning signs in the past, but none of them were ever heeded. One of them came in 2001. At 6:45 in the morning, the telephone rang. His mother-in-law was on the line, screaming, hysterical. "They shot your father. Come quickly." His father-in-law was a famous general and a cabinet minister in parliament. He had been shot by terrorists 3 times in the head. The state military funeral, the services in parliament, all the eulogies, going around the country giving speeches on behalf of the family, even a speech at the residence of the president, a speech which he barely had 30 minutes to prepare for. That whole period moved something very deep within him. That year brought him back in touch with the inner values that he grew up on, the same values that he neglected over the years in his pursuit of fame and fortune. But it wasn't enough. He needed an earthquake of seismic proportions to really find his true self and to start living with that self in alignment and true harmony. And that earthquake came in 2005, and he never saw it coming. He smashed into his divorce like a race car going 250 miles an hour, smashing into a concrete wall. They threatened to make public all his walking on the wild side. They threatened to take his child away from him, to go to the press regarding the double life he led. He felt his world collapsing and just wanted to make it all go away. At any price, he couldn't deal with that. And for the first time in his life, he broke, signing a small slip of handwritten paper, basically signing away most of everything that he had. After signing that piece of paper, he walked around in a daze for a day, for a full day, in total denial of what actually happened, in a total loss of his senses. And then after a day, he came to his senses again and snapped back into reality, realizing the full extent of the damage that he had committed, and started to fight back, taking full responsibility for his actions, all of them. The divorce took a year of being cut off from his bank accounts, from his business. It was a terrible year, but to call it traumatic and ugly would be an understatement. After a year, a settlement was reached, leaving the whole business to his former wife, who was his partner in the company. At the age of 48, he started out to rebuild himself. No business, no company, no stores, no brand, no nothing, and no income. But he could finally be himself, with no concern what others thought. He had gone through the fire and come out on the other side. He survived, alive and with a new sense of purpose. He took his 2 friends from childhood, fear and shame, gave each one a big hug, said goodbye to them, and sent them on their way. He had a vision of a new business, which he then turned into reality, building up another company of 7 figures, retailing, wholesaling, distributing, and importing one of the hottest fashion brands from Europe at that time, from scratch. And 6 months into his divorce, he met his wife-to-be and married her 4 years later. Life was great, and it stayed that way. And then, 14 years later, in the year of 2019, he woke up one morning and felt a new calling, a new mission, a mission to change and transform the lives of others, to empower and inspire others to lead the life of their dreams in all their glory and break free from any limitations that they might think are limiting them, that are holding them back from their greatness and their desired life. So, at the age of 61, he decided to embark on a new career and reinvent himself once again from scratch. It wasn't easy, especially after the fact that COVID-19 hit 6 months later. But that didn't deter him from his mission. He became a successful professional coach and mentor. Today, at the age of 66, he realizes that all he went through in life made him today the man that he is, a successful entrepreneur, businessman and coach, a great husband and father, a master and teacher of one of the most extreme combat-oriented martial arts originating from Israel, holding the rank of 8th degree black belt, a teacher of the spiritual path and meditation, a human being who now is focused on giving to others, not only getting for himself. That little boy who grew up in Long Island until the age of 12 and walked out of that classroom has come a long way, and he still has many more stories to tell. Most of them you won't believe. And that little boy is me. And the reason that I want to tell you all these stories is not to glorify myself. I'm not the issue here. I'm here to hold up a mirror for you so that you can see yourself in all your glory, not the mirror which you're so used to looking into, in which you see all your faults and your imperfections and that you think is holding you back. I want to take that mirror and I want to smash it. I want to hold up a different mirror so you can see yourself how you are destined to be in all your greatness, with no limitations, living the life that you can live and breaking through of anything that might be limiting you. I want to be the spark to light that little flame of transformation and change within you so that you can be all who you were meant to be and destined to be.